You know that dream we all have? The one where you just pack it all in, escape the city, and find some perfect little cabin deep in the wilderness. Maybe a ski lodge somewhere with these epic mountain views. It's a great dream, but it usually comes with, $1 million price tag. Well, today we're going to look at a place where all that logic gets flipped completely on its head.
Okay, just imagine this for a second. You're on a beach in Tasmania, Australia, and you're watching the southern lights, the aurora australis just dancing across the sky. I mean, it is one of the most incredible things you can see on this planet. This is the kind of view people fly across the world for. You'd think it's literally priceless, right?
And yeah, if you wanted to actually own a piece of land with a view like that, or near wilderness that amazing, you'd assume you're looking at a fortune. We see it everywhere else. A tiny apartment in a ski town, a little block of land with an ocean view, that can cost you millions. That's just how the world works.
But what if I told you that in this corner of the world, that amazing wilderness dream, that so-called $1 million view, could actually be yours for less than what you'd pay for a used Toyota? Yeah, this is where things start to get really weird.
So, let's look at the actual proof. Here, we've got a block of empty land in a town called Queenstown, and it's surrounded by this dramatic Tasmanian wilderness. The price? $38,000. Nope, not a typo.
Or what about this one? Just down the road on the west coast in a place called Zeehan. A pretty decent-sized block of land, and the asking price is just offers over $39,950. Suddenly, the dream is looking almost suspiciously affordable.
And then you see this. In this tiny little town called Waratah, right on the edge of a massive rainforest, a block of land was listed for offers over $15,000. $15,000 for a slice of one of the wildest places on Earth. It's insane.
And this is just brilliant, because it shows the whole paradox in action. The real estate agents, they're selling the dream perfectly. They're calling it an escape to the edge of the West Coast wilderness, a true blank canvas site. I mean, they're marketing a complete fantasy, but the price tag is screaming a totally different story.
So what on earth is going on here? How can these landscapes, which should be absolute real estate gold, be selling for pocket change? Welcome to the Paradise Paradox.
Now, what's so fascinating about this is the total clash of realities. On one hand, you've got the image of Tasmania we all know and love. These pristine, snow-covered mountains, lush green forests. But on the other hand, this exact same region is infamous for something else, the Queenstown moonscape. A landscape so scarred by industry it looks like it's on another planet. How can both of these things be true at the same time?
It's the question we've all been thinking, right? A $15,000 piece of wilderness paradise? There has to be a catch. And you would be right. There is. And it's a big one.
The answer is wrapped up in what some people call the curse of Tasmania's west coast. It's this whole combination of things that can turn a picture-perfect paradise into a place most people, well, they just don't want to live there.
First, let's just look at the raw numbers because they tell a huge part of the story. The median house price in Queenstown is under $200,000. But in Hobart, Tasmania's capital, which is only a few hours' drive away, it's $750,000. That is a gigantic difference. It's about 75% cheaper. So this isn't just about a few cheap blocks of land. It's a sign of this deep, systemic economic gap on one small island.
So let's just break down the reality behind that beautiful postcard. The weather? It's intense. We're talking about almost 8 feet of rain a year, and it's cloudy almost all the time. The environment? It has these deep scars from over a century of mining. The economy? Basically collapsed when the main mine closed down, leaving really high unemployment. Then you add in the fact that it's super isolated and the population is getting older because all the young people are leaving. Any one of those is a challenge, but all of them together? That's the catch.
And let's dive into that moonscape thing for a sec. For decades, a copper smelter just pumped out these fumes full of sulfur that blanketed the hills. It killed all the plants and trees and literally washed away the topsoil. And it created this totally bizarre, barren landscape. The damage is so bad that the local football field, which they call the gravel, can't even grow grass. They actually play on gravel.
So let's talk about that weather again. 2,408 millimeters. That is the average rainfall in Queenstown every single year. To put that in perspective, that's over 2.4 meters or about 8 feet of rain. It is one of the wettest spots in all of Australia, by far.
And if you're hoping for a bit of sunshine to break up all that rain,
Well, think again. On average, Queenstown gets just 29 clear, sunny days a year. That means for 336 days of the year, it's either cloudy or it's raining. That is a really tough reality to live with, no matter how pretty the mountains are.
This quote from the Sydney Morning Herald just perfectly captures how people see it. It's not just a challenging place to live. For a lot of people, it's a surreal nightmare. And that's the brutal truth hiding behind those $20,000 price tags.
So after hearing all that, what does this actually tell us about the whole idea of value? Is a beautiful view really enough to make a place valuable?
Here's how our paradox really breaks down. The dream promises you this pristine, untouched nature, but the reality is industrial scars. The dream promises you escape and freedom, but the reality is you're super isolated with no jobs and a lack of basic services. The dream promises million-dollar views, but the reality is a price tag that's basically a warning sign that something is very, very wrong.
And this right here is the heart of it all. True value is the whole package. It's not just about what you can see out your window. It's about having a job you can go to, a doctor you can see, a community you can be a part of, and yeah, even just seeing the sun once in a while. Without all that other stuff, even the most beautiful view in the world has a hard time being worth much on the market.
And yet, let's be fair, the beauty is still there. Tasmania's west coast is, despite all of its scars, a place of this deep, rugged, and absolutely undeniable beauty. The paradox is that the things that make it so tough are also part of what make it so unique. And honestly, to some people, that's what makes it so appealing.
So we end up with this question. We started with that dream of escaping it all for the wilderness. Well, the west coast of Tasmania offers that escape in its most extreme form. Total silence, isolation, raw nature. But it comes at a cost that, let's be honest, very few people are willing to pay. And it kind of makes you wonder, in our super loud, constantly connected world, what's the real price we'd actually pay for silence?